Today we have recorded or are recording our first session of a podcast entitled Caffeinated Theology. And this will hopefully be a podcast that will enable the church to know more about their faith, know more about Scripture, know more about the doctrines of our faith, know more about the character of God and Christ, and all things in between. We'll talk about the purpose of theology. Why do we study theology? Why do we invest in learning about God? In fact, I agree with Dr. R.C. Sproul, the late Dr. R.C. Sproul, that said everyone is a theologian. In fact, if you're a Christ follower, if you've been born again, you by default are a theologian. It all depends on how much you invest in learning about him. But we are called to know more about him. In fact, Jesus even says this as he sums up the law in basically two precepts, saying, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, body, and love your neighbor as yourself." And part of that worshiping God is worshiping the Lord with your mind, and we're going to do that, worshiping with your mind. But we're going to learn how to practically apply theology. I think that's sometimes where we fall short, is applying what we learn about God to our lives. So we're going to take some time to learn about God. We're also going to take some time to learn about some coffee beans from across the world. We're going to drink some coffee together. We're going to brew some coffee together and just have a relaxed conversation about theology, and just enjoy some time together. We will on occasion be digging into some subsurface level theology, getting a little deeper than just maybe this kind of the superficial things. So don't be frightened by that at all, because any language that we use, we will explain what we're talking about. We want us to worship the Lord with our mind. And so some of the things we'll talk about in theology, which is theology proper, the study of God, we'll talk about general and natural, special revelation. We'll talk about a little bit about epistemology. And that might be a phrase you're like, well, explain that. Well, that's just, how do we know certain things? So if I ask you the question, how do you know what you know? How would you answer that? That's what we learn about epistemology. And so all of this kind of engrafts into theology too. How do you know what you know about the nature and character of God? How do you know what you know about the nature and character of Jesus Christ? And how do you know about the purpose of Christ's sacrifice? And how do you know about the things at the end of the age? So hopefully these things interest you, and we just ask you that you will invest in, into plugging into this podcast. We'll be broadcasting every Monday. We'll have a podcast going on every Monday around the 11 o'clock mark. And so be looking for that next coming Monday, which is the 15th. Yeah, the 15th. We'll be looking for the broadcast on what is theology. We'll be talking about defining theology on that podcast. We'll be talking about we'll be talking about our first coffee bean together too, which will feature, I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. We'll be featuring Krampus coffee, which is a holiday blend from Onyx Coffee. And so we're excited to be talking about that too. And in many ways, brewing coffee and enjoying coffee and theology, not that they go hand in hand, but I think they complement one another well. God gave us coffee to enjoy, and I think in some way it helps us to have a relaxed conversation about the nature and character of God and everything that umbrellas from that. Anyway, I hope that you'll join us for our next broadcast, which will dive a little bit more. This was more or less an introductory, kind of what to be looking for, and we're going to try to produce it, make it sound, make it sound good, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Any questions that you might have, we'll give avenues for you to be able to ask those questions and where to send those questions to. Anyway, God bless you, and hope you'll join us, and put on your thinking caps, and grab a cup of coffee as well, and we'll study about our great God together. God bless you.